I have a strong passion for the reentry community, and so I just really wanted to know what your position is regarding reentry, especially since 1 in 3 African American males go to prison between the ages of 18 and 34, which there's probably not anyone in this room that's not affected by some family member going to jail or prison, which means that, you know, not only do they go, but they come home, and when they come home, there's a lack of housing or social services or employment for them. So we, you know, have a nonprofit that actually helps ex-offenders, and so it is very important to me to know your position on offender reentry.
I'm going to speak real fast because I have a lot to say on it. First of all, when I first went to Ohio, no, it was Defiance College, where I earned my undergraduate degree. As a placement, student placement, I worked with juvenile delinquents. And I learned from that process that there is a gatekeeper. And that gatekeeper is that police officer. A police officer driving down the street will see some black boys playing, and they get upset and they want to throw them in the car, take them downtown. That's the beginning of their juvenile record as they begin that process. That police officer is the gatekeeper. That same police officer will see Caucasian children doing the same thing, and they'll say they're just being boys. So I'm sensitive to that, I've been sensitive to that for many, many years. So much so, I saw a story on 60 Minutes one time. It was so intriguing. I went out to San Francisco and watched this program. It's this huge complex. It starts with a restaurant.
Delancey Street.
Exactly. And I always said, if I ever get the resources, I was going to create one right here. It's a wonderful program, don't you think? And that's the kind of program I want in Columbus. We have to have that type of service that will help people re-enter society, give them a boost up, but make them work their way through the process while we give them a helping hand. That's exactly what we need to do. That's what I intend to do as mayor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Regarding our ex-offender population, its influence and advocacy. As the mayor of this city, the first thing that I have influence over is city government. And so if the city is not taking the lead on hiring ex-offenders, then how can I go out and advocate to the greater business community to do the same? So the first place that I'd start is city government. I take an inventory of the jobs that can be had by ex-offenders within city government, and I'd make certain that when ex-offenders come and apply for city jobs, that they don't have to check that box that says, I'm a convicted felon, that I've served my time. Because typically what happens there, they check the box, people look at the application, oh, he's an ex-offender, and they throw the application away. They never give that brother or sister an opportunity to come before that interview panel and say, hey, listen, I made this mistake when I was 18 years old. That was 10 years ago. I deserve another chance at coming back out and being a productive member of society. And so what does that manifest itself as? Then they have children, they can't get a quality job, and then we want to put them back in jail because they can't pay their child support. Well, that's wrong. So the first thing that I do is make certain that we are doing a really good job of hiring and housing our ex-felons myself. And then I advocate to the greater business community. We talk about tax incentives that we give to the business community to create jobs. Why can't we as the city say to you, you're going to get a 75% tax abatement over 10 years? I need the majority of the jobs that you create to go, number one, to residents of Columbus, and then a percentage of those jobs to go to ex-offenders. See, we get the tax abate, we give the tax abatements, but we don't ask for things in return that benefit the people that live right here in the city. This is not about just talking. I want to be very clear. In order to be the mayor of this city, you have to have ideas that can work within this community. Everybody can talk slick. Now, I want to be real with you. Everybody can be real slick and talk a fast game, but you have to know how city government works. You have to know what you have the capacity to do as the mayor, and you have to know exactly how you will collaborate with all entities. All entities. If you don't know something as the mayor, well, you should know, because you're going to be running a city. The greater Columbus area has over 1.2 million people living in it right now. The fact that you don't know something is a problem. And if you're going to be the mayor of this city, you've got to understand what it means to come up with solutions to the everyday issues that are faced by the general public. The only way that you can do that is to actively engage with the public and know them. And I want to assert to you that I know this public. I've spent my entire life as a member of this community. I've spent my entire adult life working with individuals, helping them to overcome the everyday challenges that they face on a daily basis. So our reentry population is going to have a good culture of work and housing, and our families are going to be restored. We're going to involve our faith-based community so that when these individuals have those ups and downs that we know typically plague human beings, that we've got a support system that surrounds them, that feeds them, not just with the word of God, but with the resources that they need through the members of our congregations. So when I've got my down day, I've got a group of men that can come and pick me up. Or I've got a group of women that can come and pick me up. We need to involve every single aspect of this community to start moving it forward.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Thaddeus, Tasha, and Nicole. Here, give this one to Nicole. We're going to take these three last questions. Thaddeus, you need to bring
do you plan to continue youth programs like Columbus City Readers?
I plan on expanding youth programs. I come from an atmosphere that allows for young people to work actual jobs. We always talk about summer youth programs and doing things for young people in the summer. I want to see young people working year-round. I want to see young people engaged in activities year-round. I want to see young people getting back inside our churches and our mosques and our synagogues, working with those congregations to do things that are moral and to do things that help them live a clean life. Our youth are going to have a fantastic time under a Ragland administration because the programs that we have that are working for our young people are going to be expanded. And then there's going to be new and dynamic youth programs that are going to come from the youth. I think the problem that we have, we like to implement programs for young people without asking them what they need first. And so for me, I'm going to go out to the kids. I've worked with kids my whole life. I'm going to go out to the kids and say, what is it that you need in order to do the things that are necessary to help you with your homework, to make sure that you're having fun and staying off the streets, to make sure that you remain drug-free, to make sure that you remain abstinent, to make sure that you don't get pregnant at a young age. So, I want to go to the youth. You're going to be a part of helping me create some of the solutions that are going to be fun, they're going to be educational, they're going to be impactful for you long-term, young man. That's a great question, and I thank you for it.
That is, thank you for that question. Back in 1983, I started my tenure with the city as the Youth Services Administrator. We even had a TV show where we highlighted the positive things that our young people were doing throughout the community. Yes, we're going to do some dynamic things for youth. In fact, I have a program already written and prepared. It's called MAGIC, Managing Adolescent Growth in Columbus. And through that program, we're going to create an environment and a culture for our young people unseen anywhere in this country. I saw some of the ideas in the city of Atlanta, Georgia. And I keep saying, if Atlanta can do some of the things they're doing for their people, how come we can't do it? That's another reason that my interest for running for mayor was sparked. I'm tired of, we're the biggest city in this country. without a 4-star black restaurant. I mean, I'm tired of being embarrassed of what we haven't been able to do because the resources are not provided for us to do it. Well, guess what? The resources are there. And I'm angry. I'm an angry man because it's not like the resources aren't there. The resources are here. But they're being directed in other places. Well, that is, when I'm mayor, remember this term, magic. Because we're going to create it, we're going to implement it, and we're going to do things for young people that you haven't seen in one place, nowhere in this country. I promise you that.
Thank you.
My name is Tasha Jones. I am a social work major at Ohio Dominican University. My question, unfortunately, I'm disappointed that the other two candidates didn't show up because this is an important question for them. How will you continue to promote the national motto, My Brother's Keeper initiative started by President Obama and embraced by Mayor Coleman?
Well, I know how I'm going to embrace it. I'm not sure how Mayor Coleman did embrace it. I've got to learn that. But I'm going to embrace it by using my office. This is a similar question that was asked of me about morality, about this culture of us killing one another. How can we stop that? Well, the mayor cannot legislate morality, but the mayor certainly can use his office as a bully pulpit to suggest how people ought to be treating one another. We are going to implement what I envision as mayor is implementing a campaign. Just like I'm campaigning to run for mayor, I'm going to campaign for people to use common sense and to treat people as they would want to be treated. It's as simple as that. You're going to see bulletin boards, you're going to see billboards, you're just going to constantly get hit by the message. Let's treat each other with respect. And so we'll push that, but we'll also have, with community policing, with the redevelopment of our neighborhoods, so our citizens can be proud of where they live and where they stay. They will be invested in it. They want to take care of it. And also with that campaign to talk about being your brother's keeper. That's how I envision embracing it and implementing some type of advancement towards that type of culture, towards that kind of behavior.
I'm sorry, I was referring to the black and brown youth mayors,
Right.
the My Brother's Keeper,
So my brother's keeper.
Oh, that program.
the national initiative.
So
Okay.
the follow-up meeting from the national office that came to Columbus was held at the King Arts Complex. I attended the meeting. And we had a lot of workshops and a lot of opportunities to give feedback about positive role models, how we use mentorship to help black and brown boys progress through some of the challenges that they have. We're dealing with a lot of issues within that My Brother's Keeper forum. The lack of fathers within the home, alcohol and drug and mental health issues that are being faced by the parents that are currently in the home, mothers that have multiple babies' fathers, and how they juggle some of the stress that is related with that and how that stress is transferred over specifically and disproportionately to African American and Latino young males. And a part of what it is that we are going to do is really expand that initiative, continuing with city resources for the mentorship programs that currently exist, expanding the APS program that is already occurring in place at many of our youth recreation centers, and then making sure that we talk with the business community about how they can be helpful in helping us to overcome our obstacles. There's also a role that our faith-based communities can play as well. I don't believe that the mayor should be absolved of empowering our faith-based community to get back into the community and work with our youth, primarily our males. If you really think about it, back when black men were going to church as a collective, we were employed, We were the heads of our households. We were fathers. And we might have had some rolling stones, as people may have called them. But traditionally, we had good jobs, we took care of our families, we put food on the table, and we were living productive lives. And I have the faith that if we can re-engage our church community with that My Brother's Keeper initiative, that we can begin to take a hold of our youth, bring them back to God, let them understand that living a clean life is a great example of how you can move forward in society. You don't have to be somebody's baby's daddy. You can be a father. You don't have to be in jail or in prison. You can be employed. You don't have to suffer through life. You can get educated and do something positive. The mentorship piece of that is the first place that I am going to start. Each youth should have someone that's attached to them to make sure that they are accountable for what they're doing and giving them a leg up to help pull them out of the impoverished situation that they're currently in. The My Brother's Keeper initiative is a great example of one thing that President Obama has done for the black community, but it's something that we've got to now make happen on a local level. So,
Yeah, my Brother's Keeper is something that will be absorbed in Magic. You know, when you manage adolescent growth, that's a part of it. The mentoring. That's enough.
Thank you.
Am I making a closing yet?
Not yet. One more question. This is our last question, then closing comments.
I just want to say, first of all, thank you too for just coming out. My name is Nicole Carter. I'm also known as Lady Extreme. And I'm just glad I got a Twitter from you, and I'm a part of, so seeing you guys interact. My question, Columbus is awesome for women in business, awesome to raise families. It's a phenomenal city. We're 13th largest, like you pointed out, in the country. There's some things that we do need to see here. My passion that I have not heard any candidate talk about, any of them, so far, is people with disabilities. As far as to, for their schooling, I'm getting emotional, their schooling, giving them the resources that they need as adults, not just government handouts, but also empowering them to work, empowering them also to be able to have their own businesses. And my example is there was a young man who has Down syndrome. He owns his own restaurant. And it's a restaurant that's during the day, and he's the owner of it. And begin to empower what I believe is one of the most brilliant, most geniuses people that we have. In fact, I'm raising a genius right now. And beginning to have technology, especially my son is autistic. He might not socially communicate with you, but he will mathematically blow anybody out the water in this room. So my point being is that please, what is your initiative, or create one in your mind as I'm talking, for empowering people with disabilities, for they not to have to depend on Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, that they can be empowered to be a vibrant part of our community, both children, teenagers, and adults. So I gave y'all enough time, so I'm listening.
Well, Marjorie Pizzuti over at Goodwill, she really introduced me, many years ago, to the skills that, such individuals have in this area. And over at Goodwill, they have a social entrepreneurship program where a lot of them create art and other items that they sell.
Yes, sir.
And that's why she also asked for donations of automobiles.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have those that cannot easily go out and get a job, learn trades. And so they're learning how to fix automobiles, how to repair them, to put them back on the street. And when those automobiles are sold, that money, part of that money comes to them, as well as the agency. And so she's a great leader in this area, a great model in this area that we can learn from, because I believe all people deserve to have their dignity. And so consequently, we have to do some work in that area. I had the responsibility, when I worked for Ohio Health, as I mentioned earlier,
Yes, sir.
I was the parent, I was the HR director over the parent company. That meant I had to travel to all 16 of our hospitals. And when ADA legislation came in, I'm the one that had to learn it and had to go and make sure that all of our facilities were ADA compliant. And so I know the sensitivity, I have the sensitivity to know what they have to work with when buildings are not ADA compliant. One thing that I really appreciate this administration and what they did is to work to make sure that curves were appropriately constructed, and so that people could feel independent about traveling around the city. And so I really appreciated that. And so we have to be sensitive in this administration, which we will be, to make sure that we do whatever is necessary to maintain the independence and the dignity of not only these people, but all people, but particularly the target population that you indicated.
Well, thank you for that. We worked on the curb cuts and sidewalks issue when I was with Charlita Tavares at Columbus City Council. You can thank her for that. She has always been a leader in making sure that there was ADA compliance here in the city. And if you really think about my platform, it not only goes for people without disabilities, but it incorporates folks with disabilities as well. We talk about education. How are we working with our disabled population to make certain that they have the highest quality education that's available to them? How can we partner with some of our county agencies to make certain that the resources are there so when children with autism do arrive in our schools, we're adequately prepared for them. We're able to phase them back into the regular population of school when that's necessary. There are special needs children all throughout our city, but we need more resources right there at the school level to make certain that they get the help that they need. And then you talk about jobs. Yes, Margie Pizzuti at Goodwill is a fantastic provider of jobs, but she has other partners within the community as well. There are other entities like Life Care Alliance that hire people with disabilities. There are other entities like Mid-Ohio Food Bank that do a lot of good work with folks that have disabilities. Setting up an atmosphere that says if you are disabled, you can be a productive member of this society should come from the top down, right? There are other examples throughout the country where this is happening, and Columbus will be one of those examples as well. Then when you talk about community reinvestment, yes, there are curb cuts and sidewalks, but as we build new communities, how ADA compliant are those new homes that are being built? Are we phasing out our disabled population because we're only building homes for people who can go up 2 flights of stairs and come back down? Are we having proper housing stock being incorporated into the new communities that are being built?